Over 2,000 soldiers wouldn't see the sunrise again. On June 6, 1944, President Franklin Roosevelt said, Allied forces have started freeing Europe and fighting for freedom. Omaha was a cliff-lined beach, 8 kilometers wide, located in Normandy, northern France. The goal of the Allies was to land here and open a second front against the Germans. And the Atlantic Wall Line stretched about 2,600 kilometers from Norway to Spanish border. It was filled with bunkers, heavy gun batteries, machine gun nests, and tens of thousands of miles along the coast. On the morning of June 6, 1944, the English Channel carried the heaviest burden in history. This was Operation Overlord, the most complex gamble in military history. It included a massive fleet, about 6,900 vessels. On the first day, 34,000 American soldiers landed on Omaha Beach. They came in LCVP landing craft, known as Higgins boats. Hitler kept his panzer divisions and reserves only under his control while sleeping at Berghof. General Rommel was far from the front, celebrating his wife's birthday. Thousands of steel obstacles like Czech hedgehogs and the Belgian gate were placed along the beach. About 4 million landmines were buried under the sand. The German defense was stationed in strategic bunkers called Widerstandsnetz on the high cliffs overlooking the beach. Around 2,000 soldiers on the 352nd Infantry Division waited inside the bunkers to defend the area and ready to face. First plan was to hit the beach with heavy bombers, but dense clouds forced them to drop bombs inland, and the guys had to fight alone in that massive line of fire. The US 1st and 29th Infantry Divisions were the main force landing on Omaha, most of them facing combat for the first time. German soldiers noticed the Americans approaching. They grabbed their rifles and prepared. German snipers used Kar 98 rifles to pick targets from the cliff. Germans take positions, set up machine guns, and check their defenses. Higgins boats opened their steel rams and dropped 36 soldiers straight into the line of fire. NG-42 machine guns, known as Hitler saw, tore the beach apart with relentless fire. American soldiers hit the beach, running toward the German positions. Explosions and smoke filled the air. Germans open fire, and Americans take cover. Gunfire and explosions echo across the beach. MP4s dominated the trenches at close range. The US Marines held their ground despite heavy fire. Rangers crawl forward under heavy fire. Some fall, others push ahead. American soldiers returned fire with M1 Garands and carbine. Medics tried to help the wounded through the chaos and shooting. German 88mm guns struck ships and armor before they reached shore. Floating Sherman tanks sank in the waves, leaving only a few to reach land. Crab tanks tried to clear the minefield. Heavy CGR radios failed, cutting all coordination. They inched closer to the German positions, determined to survive and advance, moving carefully under heavy fire. US troops let down heavy machine gun fire, giving the soldiers time to secure the beach. Browning machine guns were set up to stop counterattacks, while 50 caliber fire smashed concrete bunkers. Thousands of C-47 Skytrain transport planes carrying the US 82nd Airborne Divisions launched the largest night operation in history over Normandy. On the night of June 6, more than 13,000 American paratroopers jumped into the darkness behind German defenses, scattered by heavy anti-aircraft fire and fog, and only about 2,500 were able to regroup. These groups attacked German supply lines, destroying around 200 trucks and cutting off ammunition to the front. Paratroopers knocked down hundreds of telephone poles and cut miles of communication cable to disrupt German coordination. 5 key bridges over the Meredith and Douvres rivers were blown up to stop German armored units from reaching the beach. Early in the morning, the 82nd Airborne captured Saint-Mère-Église, the first town liberated in France. New American troops arrived and formed a line, ready to advance. At the most critical moment, when all communication was cut, 12 Allied destroyers opened direct fire on the bunkers. German bunkers were protected by meter-thick concrete and filled with ammo depots, periscopes, and machine guns. German soldiers made a last stand in their trenches and firing back fiercely. Thompson submachine guns cleared tight positions. Soldiers in the trenches struggled to advance under heavy German artillery fire as massive explosions rocked the beach. German bunkers are hit and collapsed. The US Marines took the opportunity to crawl forward. Some tried to climb the cliffs but couldn't make it back. Army Rangers were waiting to complete the task. Ranger battalions prepared to climb the cliffs and silence the guns overlooking the beach. Those who made it over the cliffs faced the German resistance in the trench head-on. By midday, more than 15,000 American soldiers were trapped on the sand in chaos. Above them, around 2,000 soldiers of the German have their cliff positions. Of the 32 amphibious tanks sent toward Omaha, only 5 reached the shore, acting as moving shields for the infantry. With radio stations destroyed, German commanders couldn't request ammunition or reinforcement. Germans did not expect the landing because the Allies tricked them with fake armies' messages, and they thought the real attack would be somewhere else. When Hitler woke near noon, convinced the attack was a diversion, he delayed releasing panzer divisions. As bunkers were captured, surviving German troops surrendered, including conscripted Polish and Russian soldiers. The German army lost between 4,000 and 9,000 soldiers that day, and also lost its coastal bunkers, heavy gun batteries, and hundreds of defensive vehicles. Connecting Omaha and Utah Beach would open the Western Front and push toward Germany. The goal after Omaha was to secure a beachhead for troops and supplies. From there, they planned to advance inland and break German defenses. The Normandy landings broke Germany's dominance in Europe, opened the Western Front, and paved the way for the final Allied victory. We honor the heroes of Omaha Beach, whose courage and sacrifice secured the freedom of generations they will never meet.